Welcome back, Red Devils fans. In today's video, we break down the chaos at Manchester United this transfer window. Big name misses, last-minute deals, and what's next for Rashford and the squad. Stay tuned. Sir Jim Ratcliffe has given up on Manchester United's season, and only one thing can salvage it. The January transfer window has closed and Man Utd's outlook for the Premier League season doesn't look good. Manchester United allowed two forwards to leave in the January transfer window and didn't strengthen their attacking options. United did sign Aiden Heaven on a permanent transfer from Arsenal, and they might need an intervention from God to save their miserable season. Whatever way you look at it, United are objectively weaker in attack than they were at the start of the window. Marcus Rashford wasn't playing after a breakdown with Ruben Amorim, and Antony is Antony. But the bottom line is, two forwards left the club and none were signed. Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee have scored 11 goals between them in all competitions this season, and Amorim resorted to playing Kobbie Mainoo up front against Crystal Palace. Speaking before that game, Amorim explained he wanted to try different things, and it wasn't a surprise to see the team with a striker who can score claim a 2-0 win at Old Trafford. The in-form Jean-Philippe Mateta netted a brace, and he has 2 more goals than Højlund and Zirkzee combined this term. Yes, really. The Crystal Palace striker who dances to boom, boom, boom by the Venga Boys when he scores has more goals than United strikers, who cost in excess of £100 million. United need to create more chances for the remainder of the season, but Højlund and Zirkzee must become more clinical because they currently look out of their depth at Old Trafford. Over 2,500 fans responded to my survey on X about United's business in the January window, and 74% said they were disappointed, while 20% said they were content. The biggest gripe of supporters in this window has been United's failure to sign a striker, because strengthening the attack in the winter window won't have necessarily cost millions. United considered moves for Bayern Munich teenager Mathys Tel and Christopher Nkunku of Chelsea, but Tel moved to Tottenham on deadline day and Nkunku stayed in London. Tel has a modest goal-scoring record. He's just 19-year-old and would have been a risk, but some will argue United have taken a bigger risk by standing still in the January window. What if Ahmad or Alejandro Garnacho pick up injuries? They are the team's leading goal scorers, and a toothless attack would become worse if they pick up issues during the rest of the season. Sources stressed United had no intention of recruiting any short-term or stopgap players who could compromise the club's budget in the summer, but it's naive to believe there wasn't a player out there who could have improved the attack and been available in an affordable deal. 5 big-name players who missed out on January transfers. The 2025 winter transfer window has come and gone, with clubs across Europe reshuffling their squads ahead of the toughest half of the campaign. While PSR concerns hamstrung a number of sides, there was still plenty of excitement across the winter window. Sagas involving some of the game's biggest names kept us entertained, but some amounted to nothing as changes of scenery eluded a glut of prominent players. Here are 5 players who missed out on winter transfers. Christopher Nkunku. The sight of Mark Guiu coming off the Chelsea bench ahead of him on Monday night against West Ham United spoke volumes of Christopher Nkunku's situation at Stamford Bridge. The Frenchman is firmly outside Enzo Maresca's thoughts, but, despite significant interest from both Bayern Munich and Manchester United, remains in West London after Chelsea's asking price of over £60 million scared off all suitors. Nkunku now has 6 months to force his way back into the starting lineup at Chelsea, who could do with keeping his value as high as possible ahead of what will almost certainly be a summer departure. Alejandro Garnacho. It seemed almost certain that Alejandro Garnacho would not be a Manchester United player by the time the window closed. With countless reports stressing his potential availability, Garnacho was touted as Napoli's favored replacement for Kvaratskhelia, whose £59 million move to Paris Saint-Germain gave the Serie A side a significant chance of striking a deal. United stood firm, however, demanding closer to £70 million to agree to a sale. Napoli balked, allowing Chelsea to enter the race. The Blues love spending more money than they should on wingers, and this one seemed to get even more likely when reports of a swap deal involving Nkunku emerged. However, the window has closed and both players remain at home. Alexander Zinchenko. Atletico Madrid and Borussia Dortmund both wanted to offer Alexander Zinchenko the chance to reignite his career away from Arsenal this month. The Ukraine international's place under Mikel Arteta looked to be slipping away when Riccardo Calafiori joined in the summer, and the emergence of academy midfielder Miles Lewis-Skelly as a viable left-back option has only pushed Zinchenko further down the ladder. Now the third choice in the position, Zinchenko looks set for a serious struggle for minutes over the remainder of the season. But hey, at least he remains ahead of the soon-to-be departing Kieran Tierney. Andreas Christensen. When Barcelona need money, you can guarantee Andreas Christensen will be linked with an exit. That was definitely the case this month as the La Liga side tried to fund an ambitious loan move for Marcus Rashford. Premier League teams began lining up. Manchester United and Newcastle United were both linked, but nothing ever really materialized, and Christensen now finds himself in an immense battle to reclaim a regular starting spot. 7 transfers that collapsed in the final moments of transfer deadline day. David De Gea, Alexis Sanchez and Kaká were among the players who saw their prospective moves collapse in the dying embers of transfer deadline day. As we enter the closing stages of the ongoing winter transfer window, clubs around the world will look to make a final attempt in bolstering their squads before the deadline. The majority of Europe's top football leagues, including England's Premier League, will close their transfer windows on February 3, 2025. And the transfer deadline day generally always brings about drama, with clubs and players looking to push through deals before the window slams shut. While most transfers between clubs go through smoothly, there are cases when these deals fail to work out and collapse at the last minute. The reasons behind such collapses can vary from trivial issues like late submission of documents to something unfathomable like a malfunctioning fax machine. Mirror Football takes a look at 7 transfers that collapsed in the final moments of the deadline day and the factors behind the failure to get the deal over the line. David De Gea, Manchester United to Real Madrid in 2015. David De Gea, currently playing for Fiorentina, left his former club Manchester United after the 2022-23 season after the Red Devils opted against renewing the long-serving custodian's contract. However, things could have been very different for the Spanish shotstopper had he completed a dream transfer in 2015. De Gea, touted amongst the best in the world back then, had just a year left in his contract in August 2015. And after much speculation over his future, he was all set to complete a lucrative move to Real Madrid, with the deal set to be completed on the transfer deadline day. The deal was reportedly worth £29 million, with Costa Rican goalkeeper Keylor Navas also moving to United as part of the deal. However, the deal collapsed due to a bizarre reason: a faulty fax machine. The documents were required to be submitted to the La Liga office before the deadline at midnight, but the fax machine at Manchester United reportedly malfunctioned. The documents only reached the La Liga office 28 minutes after the deadline, and the move failed to materialize. Robinho, Real Madrid to Chelsea in 2008. In 2008, Robinho, the talented Brazilian striker, was expected to leave Real Madrid, with the Spanish club focused on a relentless pursuit for Cristiano Ronaldo, and Chelsea were widely expected to sign him, with the Blues chief executive Peter Kenyon stating that he was confident the move would go through. The negotiations between the two clubs went ahead smoothly until deadline day, when the transfer collapsed to everyone's surprise. And Manchester City, flush with funds after a takeover by Abu Dhabi Investment Group, hijacked the deal. Robinho, in a later interview with 442, revealed, "I wanted to go to Chelsea. Scolari told me that I could make the difference." Rashford, Antony and Dorgu, Manchester United's full list of ins and outs after transfer window. The January transfer window has shut. So what does the full list of Man Utd's business from the winter window look like? Manchester United's business in the 2025 January transfer window has now been completed. United signed Aiden Heaven from Arsenal and Patrick Dorgu from Lecce, but they didn't strengthen their attacking options, despite Ruben Amorim not having enough firepower. Rasmus Højlund and Joshua Zirkzee have just 11 goals between them in all competitions this season, and United were linked with Bayern Munich forward Mathys Tel. However, Tel signed for Tottenham on loan for the remainder of the season on deadline day, and United stayed put. Sources stressed United had no intention of recruiting any short-term or stopgap players who could compromise the club's budget in the summer, but fans will question the strategy. United paid €30 million, £25 million, to sign Dorgu, with a potential €5 million, £4 million, in add-ons, and the defender will be available to face Leicester City in the FA Cup fourth round. Heaven signed from Arsenal for an undisclosed compensation fee, and he is seen as a first-team addition, which raises the prospect of the 18-year-old making his debut in the coming weeks. Dorgu and Heaven were introduced to the Old Trafford crowd before defeat to Crystal Palace last weekend, but supporters hoped to see another few fresh faces through the door. Regarding outgoings at United, Antony joined Real Betis on loan for the remainder of the season, and Marcus Rashford joined Aston Villa on loan after a breakdown with Amorim. Here is the full list of United's incomings and outgoings after the window slammed shut.